Hey guys, welcome to Throttle Therapy. So we're going to start off our first episode with none other than my dad, DJ Afonso, and we're going to share some stories and experiences that he's had over his lifetime, and I could tell you right now it's pretty entertaining. So sorry about the video quality. We're using the laptop video, but at least we got good sound. So before we get started, I wanted to jump on here and ask you guys what this segment needs to be called, because VetMX is going to have Beyond the Battlefield, and then we will have the off-road racing section, which will be with my buddy Brendan Cook, which we don't have a name for yet. And Brendan and I usually come up with something absolutely ridiculous, so I'm looking forward to that. But we need a name for Papa DJ's segment here, because he's probably got 20 million in his mind and about 19,999,999 that are not allowed to be used on YouTube or anything else. So if you guys want, comment in it and let us know what name we should have here, and we'll go with it, whatever gets the highest vote or whatever. So, Dad.
Yeah.
We have a long history of just talking about stories, or you just going off the wall and just cracking me up since I was little. Like, I still memorize stories since I was like 5-6 years old. And I think some of my favorites have to do with you messing with people at work. And mind you, this is unscripted, guys. We don't really have anything written down. Like, I'm throwing it off the top, and I know he's going to be able to just throw down stories that you guys will be entertained by. So, from your experience, what do you think is the funniest story? And you got to tell it like you normally do. But which one's your favorite one?
My favorite one? They're all my favorite. Most of all of them are pranks. Whenever you do something with me, whether it's riding, shooting, racing, whatever, it turns into an adventure, one way or the other. Probably putting the squirrel in the lunchbox. That was a topper.
A squirrel in a lunchbox.
Yeah, I put a live squirrel in one of my coworkers' lunchboxes, and
okay, so I know I've probably heard this one, but I always have to ask, how do you catch a live squirrel to do something that dumb?
Well, when you're on a 70,000-pound excavator and you're digging a hole and you're digging existing abandoned water lines out, and you dig into his nest, you don't give him a way to get out. So you put on your rubber gloves and get down there and dig for him. Put your foot on him and grab him by the fur. So it pulls his fur back so he can't bite your fingers, and crawl up out of the hole. And first thing I saw was lunchbox sitting on the back of a truck. I went, hey, this is going to be good. I wonder whose that is. So I walked over there and holding the squirrel in one hand and pulled the lunchbox down, put the squirrel in the lunchbox, closed it. It jumped around a little bit, and he calmed right down. And I put it back up on the toolbox where you had to reach up to get it. And my buddy and my boss came to pick me up for lunch, and it wasn't 10 minutes. And the laborers came up from the bottom of the hill, and the labor foreman was pointing, and bossing people around, and it was still even lunchtime. And my boss and I started to back out, and I said, you might want to stop and watch this. And the guy reached up and never took the lunchbox down, pushed the button on the lunchbox, flipped it open, and a jack-in-a-box appeared. That squirrel jumped straight up in the air, about 2 feet in the air, landed on his shoulders, ran down the crack of his back. And then it was a little delayed reaction for about a second because he thought about just what happened to him and screamed and yelled, waved his arms, ran around like a chicken with his head cut off. And we almost backed into the car behind us because we were crying. We were laughing so hard.
So I don't know how you get a lunchbox or a squirrel in a lunchbox, first off, but what I remember was what happened to his lunch.
Oh, we had Nextels then. That was, in around 2005, 2006. We had Nextels. So as we were crying or laughing on the way down the hill to go to the catering truck to get some lunch, the Nextel goes off, and I'm called all kinds of nice choice words. And he goes, "You owed me lunch." I go, "Owed you lunch? For what? What'd I do? You're the only one that could catch one of those things." I said, "Catch a what?" "He ate my effing sandwich." I went, "Oh." So then we proceeded to laugh even harder because the squirrel had eaten half of his sandwich while he was in there, and it didn't even. That's probably why the squirrel stopped jumping around in the lunchbox, because he found some food.
Not to mention he pooped all in the box.
Yeah, he crapped all over.
It's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Complete sabotage.
Yeah. Same guy before. A few months before that, it was really cold. We were grubbing and cleaning up stuff, and we moved these boards, and there was a bunch of baby mice, so I grabbed a handful of baby mice and put them in his pocket. And he took his coat home, and they never moved. And the wife was cleaning out his pockets and pulled out those mice. Needless to say, I wasn't too popular around there then either. But that was just a couple of many little things that I did.
And it's pretty cool to know that my dad has gone and built a lot. I mean, California sucks, but there's a lot of infrastructure, just pretty cool not environments, but places in California that he's actually been a part of making like buildings, roads, etc. Like you see one thing, I can't drive down the road without him pointing something out. He's like, "Oh, I worked on that." So that's pretty cool. And the day we decided to go to Supercross in San Francisco, the rain race. And I'm trying not to hit the table. It makes a lot of noise. But we were going to the rain race that they had in Supercross, San Francisco. Was that last year or the year before?
Last year.
Last year. So last year. And so we're at what ballpark? Or is that the San Francisco Giants? But what's it called?
Orlick Park.
Oracle Park.
Oracle Park.
Orlick. So we got Oracle Park there. And of course, we can't show up without Dad going, "Oh, hey, I used to work right there." What do you call McCovey Cove?
Condom Cove. McCovey Cove. All the people that are in there diving for home run balls off of right field and stuff, they're diving in there and they're showing the camera in there and stuff. That's Condom Cove. There's a 66-inch sewer outlet right down the cove there, and when it overflows, it just flows everything. And when the tide's down and it does it, and it's not flowing, there's condoms all over the rocks and beach and all that stuff. I think there was even a houseboat there that was doing porn that were, some of the guys would bring their binoculars and try to get a look at stuff. I said, "Why don't you just walk up there and ask for a job?"
We're literally taking my how old was Racing then? 6 or 7. We're taking my kid across the bridge there to Oracle Park, and he's all to my kid. He's like, "Hey, Racing, look down there, see if you could see a log," because the sewage outlet's there. So he's having my kid look for turds floating down the water line out into the cove there. And
Stop, you two.
Yeah, our dogs are over here fighting each other or messing with each other, but has my kid over there looking for brown canoes. So, yeah, you can't go there and have an experience without hearing something. And then he tells me about working there. So, what was the porta potty thing there?
There was a homeless guy underneath the bridges when you come off of 280, and I was showing a apprentice operator how to run a water truck. So he got in the driver's seat and he drove around there a little bit. And nowadays kids can't drive anything with a stick shift, and he was having a hard time driving it with a stick shift. And so he drove to the end of this walking path we made, and I switched back with him. And so I put it in gear. I said, just put it in low gear and just cruise around here and just spray a little bit. And I looked over. He goes, well, what's this lever for? I said, this lever's for the side spray. And about the time he said that, I looked over, and there was a guy squatting, taking a dump out there about 30 yards away. And I go, watch, you can spray this thing really far. He goes, you're not going to. And I revved it up to 2,500 RPMs and dropped the horn on it and knocked him right off his feet. And he was in the kennel point. So, same guy, I think about a week after that, we had foam there because they use foam to replace the dirt so it's not so heavy. And he had made himself a little house in underneath the bridge in the foam, and they were trying to clean things up around there. So the laborers had this wild idea. They were going to throw the 4x4s they were stacking the foam on top of the foam, and they threw one over, hit the poor guy in the head. threw it over there. You can hear a crack. So remember, it's like shooting. You got to know what's on the other side before you throw it.
Oh, what was the one with the porta potty though?
Oh,
It was
a lot of porta potties.
Transportation here.
3rd Street, down the street from the thing. We
porta potty. So portable.
We pulled into the job at 6:30 in the morning, and my buddy, it seemed like, well, you had from Los Banos to there is a 2-hour drive, and the poop ghost got him, so he gets out and he ran into the porta potty. Well, we had an old 100,000-pound excavator there with a thumb, and I fired that thing up, and he was camped out there in there for a little while. So I just reached over there, and it had water in it. So when I dumped the water out, it cleaned everything out, and reached over and picked the porta potty up and swung it over and set it on the sidewalk. So when he opened the door, traffic was going down 3rd Street, and he opened the door, and when he opened the door, car came by there, blew the door open, blew the toilet paper out, all kinds of stuff. He was just amazed that I moved it without him. He goes, I thought you were just shaking it and messing around with me, but you actually picked it up, set it over an 8-foot fence, and set it on the sidewalk, and I didn't even know it. I said, yeah? Surprised you weren't screaming and yelling.
That one cracks me up because in the military we have probably 1 million porta potty stories. Like everybody's seen like the room clearing ones where you fit like a whole team or a squad of guys inside of them, and then every single joke of it's 130 degrees in the desert. We all know where that goes. But to be able to move your friend across a work site in the air and then set him on the side of a road.
Yeah, I didn't track anywhere. I just picked him up and swung over. So he thought I was pushing on it. So I didn't bounce, nothing bounced. So yeah, it set him right on the sidewalk. Then the other time I was on a D8 in a gravel parking lot at a hazmat job, and I was on a D8, and the foreman goes, "You know what? I'm tired of seeing that when I drive up here, seeing that blue room there, that outhouse." He says, "Push that thing over to the other side." So the truck drivers keep wanting to stop there, and the other people that don't even work, they run up from the scales because it was at a landfill. It says people run up from the scales and want to use that thing. Push it over on the other side. I said, okay. So I pulled over there with the D8 and put the blade up against the door, and then they didn't have those big plastic deals underneath there to catch stuff. They had runners on the bottom of the blue rooms. And I set the blade down to where the blue room went boom up against the blade. Let her rip, man. First gear. I go, oh, this thing's sliding good. Put it in second gear with a D8. I'm traveling pretty good, probably about, 10, 11 miles an hour. I mean, I was cooking. I had the throttle wide open, decelerator out, and shoved him for about 40 yards, or shoved the blue room for 40 yards. But when I lifted up the blade and backed up, one of the truck drivers was on the bottom, and he opened the door.
Oh my God, the dogs are taking me out.
Pants down to his ankles. Everything all shook up, screaming. He was madder than a wet hen. I didn't know there was anybody in it. I didn't bother to see if there was a red thing there or not. It just moved the blue room. I did.
Yeah, that sounds like something you would do.
Yeah.
But he's got like hundreds of these. It's ridiculous. But I'm sure he can get to quite a bit of them and just start dropping them. But my dad actually never served in the military as much. He has a lot of informative like experience and stuff with a lot of stuff regarding firearms and stuff like that. So it's pretty common for people to think that he was prior military. And how would I put it?
I was missed. My dad served in Germany in Patton 7th Army, and from 59 to 61, and he was one of 12 people that were cleared to be able to go into the missile silos, and I'm pretty proud of that. And then I tried three times to go into the military, and I guess my parents thought it was more important that I stayed home and ran a backhoe than to go out there, and they did everything they could, and they succeeded at keeping me home. And then my son went, and it seems like whenever that he had leave or anything like that, he just brought me home a bunch of kids.
Yeah, I'd bring a bunch of my active duty boys home.
Yeah, we'd have people here, and they were like, "Hey, Dad." I was like, "Oh shit, okay, well, adopted another. Okay, I got an Eskimo kid, I got a Mexican kid, I got my Portuguese kid." I said, "I've got all the bases covered," and so we'd go hiking up in the mountains and doing stuff. I just wish that I was a little bit younger, because I mean, I travel, I go, I can cover some distance. I just do it slow, and pace myself. And kind of heartbreaking to watch people walk away from you, but
yeah.
Oh.
Especially when we would do it every day. So it's pretty impressive that he could keep up with us, especially being line infantry guys. But he definitely has a huge background in hunting and hunting stories. And he named me Hunter. And he should have named me my son. He should have named me after how I named my son, Racing. It's all backwards because my kid wants to go hunting. All I wanted to do was go racing. And his stories from hunting are ridiculous. What was the... I have to hear it again, but was it Ralph who had... Was it a Bronco or a Blazer?
I have a lot of adventures with Ralph.
Oh, just...
Poor Ralph. I don't know why Ralph... I love Ralph. He's my best friend in the world. I don't know why he's still my friend.
We could have a whole segment on Ralph.
Yeah, we could have a Ralph segment.
Heck, we're going to talk about Ralph, and then we're going to send these to Ralph once we get enough stories out of him. We're going to have to clip those. Was it Ralph or was it Wes that had the back cab experience with the buck?
No, that wasn't
Neither?
Wes. It was Ralph.
That was Ralph.
That was Ralph. That was actually scary. Yeah, we went to Colorado, and right before you were born, a couple years before you were born, and Ralph had never shot a buck before, and he saw this little buck. He was 140 yards off the side of the road in Colburn, Colorado, and he was eating an apple, and he goes, I'm gonna shoot him. I go, no, the house is right back there. We're gonna go ask people on the property because everybody's around here seems pretty cool. Just do the right thing, We don't want to be like the other typical Californians and just do whatever we want. We're raised just like these people are, out in the country, farms, ranches, everything. We wouldn't want anybody just shooting shit on our property. So we backed up there, and the house was elevated about 3 feet off the ground. There was a corral around it with about a half acre, with about a dozen of the most beautiful Hereford cattle you'd ever seen. And he walks up on the step, knocks on the door, and my brother-in-law and I are sitting in the truck, and we're watching the door. The guy answers the door, and I know what he said. He says, there's a deer on your property. Can I have permission to shoot him? And the guy said, yeah, I get $100 a day to hunt on my property. So he reached in his pocket, grabbed a $100 bill, and handed it to the guy. The hard thing is that he had a Model 7400 280 semi-automatic rifle in his hands when he did it. So he took 3 steps back, pointed it, then he was 400 yards away and started shooting at the deer across the field. As he was shooting at the deer, the brass was hitting the guy inside the house. So boom, 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 boom. The guy shut the door because the hot brass was hitting him after he unloaded his 5 rounds, whatever he had, 4 or 5 rounds he had in there. And when he was walking back to the truck, we were both slid down as far as we could get so nobody could see what happened. And the next day, same deer, same tree, same apples. We finally get him, and he's resting in the truck. And I go and I grab my brother-in-law's rifle. I said, I'll back you up. If you just hit him, I'll stop him. And he must have sat there for it seemed like for an eternity. And I kept telling him, Ralph, shoot him. He's not going to get any fatter. And the deer even reached down, grabbed an apple, and I could see it in the scope, and looked up at us and took a bite of the apple. And the apple went like that and was looking at us and was eating this apple. And I go, he's not getting any fatter, Ralph. He's already marinated. Just let it go. Send it. Pow! He finally sent it. And I go, good shot. It was a good shot. Knocked him out and took him off his feet, put him down. And good shot, Ralph. And I looked down. All I could see was his cowboy hat go, whoop, like this. And my brother-in-law, Ronnie's slapping him in the face. Ralph. He had passed out. Went in a little convulsion from his buck fever and went, that. That's what I did. I was in the back of the truck laughing. I was laughing so hard. And so I still tease him about that. Every time he tells me, hey, let's go to Idaho and go deer hunting. Let's go here and go deer hunting. And I go. So I get cussed out for that. But, some people don't think it's some people feel sorry for him when I tell them the story, but you know, most of us guys, if you were there, you would think it was funny.
Yeah. So, which one was the deer that you couldn't find where the bullet hit?
Oh, yeah, that was the same trip.
I feel like we were on the right track
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
Didn't he have a new truck?
No, he had a 84 Chevy 4-wheel drive with a camper.
Okay.
And but my brother-in-law and I went behind that guy's property where he shot the deer and walked over the mountain, hiked over the mountain, which is a pretty good hike. It was late in the afternoon, and I shot a 4x4, and it was started snowing and everything, so I cleaned him out, stuffed him with snow, and put a ribbon over the top of the tree, and we headed home. And so we stayed at a bed and breakfast, and we asked the people at the bed and breakfast whose property that was. Because, well, you were in BLM land, but that's it's been so long ago, I don't remember what the guy's name was, but he wasn't a real pleasant fellow. But when I took their quad and I went over there and asked him, he was like, yeah, well, you guys need to stop shooting stuff behind my house. And I go, well, it's BLM land. I mean, you know. And he opened the gates, and I drove, and it wasn't 100 yards behind his place, his little pasture he had there. And when he saw that deer, he was mad. I've been looking at him all season. Well, sucks to be you. You should have been out there hunting, right? Early bird gets the worm. So I put this deer on the front of the quad, and I started heading down the road, and came up on this brand new Bronco, and we're talking 89.
Oh, this is where the brand new
90,
Bronco comes
yeah,
in.
brand new Bronco, paper plates. Pretty sure they were from San Bernardino. Brand new Bronco, beautiful. The old red Eddie Bauer edition with the tan stripe on the bottom. And two guys looking at this little tiny deer with binoculars, and he was 80 yards away. And they're looking at him with the binoculars, and in that place you had to have shoot a fork or better in that particular zone. And they're looking at each other. So I pulled up behind them, shut the thing off. Hi, fellas, what are you doing? We're trying to see if he's a fork. And I looked over there. I said, yeah, he's a fork. He's got a fork on each side. I said, he's a little tiny guy. I said, I think he still has milk on his lips. Oh, no, he's fine. This guy reaches in there and grabs, I don't know, probably a 300 Weatherby. It was a big Magnum rifle. And let him have it. Boom. Deer went down. Good shot. And something was really peculiar about the shot. So they dragged the deer over through the fence and toward the back of the Bronco, and I looked down and I said, you might want to cut that deer's throat or stab him in the heart or something.
Do something.
And they go, well, I just shot him with, I think it was a 300 Weatherby Magnum. I go, well, you shot him with 300 Weatherby Magnum. I shot one yesterday with a 300 Weatherby Magnum, and my deer bled a lot.
A lot.
I said, he's not bleeding. Oh, no, he's dead. We're going to take him and go have him butchered right now. So they put the window down, opened the back up, and threw him in there. And I'm thinking, this is going to be good. This is going to be the best story I ever had in my life. They take off down the road, and I'm following them. They didn't go 200 yards. And I see a head, these horns and a head, look up like this, out of the back in the back window of the Bronco. And I went, oh, shit, here it goes. His horns get cut in the liner. It stands up in there. You can hear him trying to put it in park while it's moving at 20 miles an hour. comes to a stop. They open the doors. You'd think if something's out there, you're going to open the door and have your rifle with you. No, they were out of there. The deer kicked the side window out, ripped the liner out, crapped all over the inside, jumped out, took off back across the field where they just got him from, and so I let him get out there a little piece while he was running. He was still kind of staggering a little bit, and I had my little 270 with me, and I just whipped it off the front of the bike, and boom, that was it. He's dead now.
I start to see a running theme of animals crapping in other people's personal belongings when it comes to him, though. But that one wasn't his fault. He warned him.
No, I warned him. What they did is they hit him in the horns. The guy was he was looking at his horns and squeezed off his shot, knocked him out.
Yeah, out cold.
Out colder than a Christmas turkey. At that range, you're probably, that rifle with a 180 grain bullet is probably at over 3,000 foot-pounds of energy, because it's 4,000 at the muzzle. So at 80 yards, yeah, it's over 3,000 pounds. That's a pretty good pop in the head.
It shows the resilience of a small animal, too, what they could take. It shows how bad they can tear up a bronco, too.
Yeah, it was tore up.
It was done. Broken windows, torn up liner. The camper was done, from what he told me. That would suck.
That was an expensive piece of meat.
That would suck. But, yeah, and our buddy Ralph here, he's the center of a million things, from falling asleep in places he shouldn't.
Who took the ugliest girl home contest?
Yeah, the ugliest girl goes home.
Very, very, very competitive with me. My best friend. Love him to death. Give my life for him, do anything for him. But, yeah, he had a little bit too much to drink one night, and we were at...
Pretty normal.
Yeah.
He's got his cowboy hat on.
Yeah, he has... Yeah, and I used to call him John Travolta because he walked and acted like he was the urban cowboy, right? And so we had the very competitive with me. We had I go, hey, dude. I go, let's have a contest. Who can take the ugliest girl home contest? He goes, yeah, right. I'm going to have that contest with you. So I went over, bit these girls, and they weren't attractive at all. I mean, they were nice. They weren't attractive at all. And started talking to him. Well, it made him think, oh, I'm beating him. So he found one that was bigger and uglier than them. And there he goes. Big smile on his face. Walked by me. And I go, oh, dude, man. Oh, that's not fair. Yeah, I'm going to get you. Yeah, I got you this time. Next morning he says, hey, why didn't you stop me? I said, was she coyote ugly? Did you have to chew your arm off or what? He goes, how come you didn't stop me? I said, you're the winner.
You won that
one. I'll give you that. You won that one.
The funniest part about it is, one day we were hanging out with Ralph, and I brought it up to him because I thought he was kidding, and I've never seen a dude turn red so fast. He's all, that's not fair. Like, well, at least he won. He finally won one.
Yeah.
Didn't you guys? What'd you do to him in the back of your Toyota, or was it?
It was his truck.
Oh, his truck?
Yeah, his truck.
Oh, this one's fun.
He had that same 84. It was a year before we went to Colorado. We went to Utah, Hatch Mountain, Utah, and it was snowing. We had a big fire there and stuff. And
this is a different one. I like this one.
He had made a cool bed and stuff with some little shelves in there. We could slide it in there, and we could get in there and sleep and stay out of the weather. Because, we were we were young. We were really young, two poor guys. So we wanted to go hunting. We went hunting. Nothing stopped us, right? Even snow. So he gets out there and he's drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking. And
he's got his cowboy hat on.
got his cowboy hat, and he's talking shit to me. And so he passes out in the back of the truck, all spread out, legs, everything, all just ticking the whole bed. And I couldn't move him. And he started fighting me and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I said, all right. I grabbed the board with him on it, opened the tailgate, and slid him right out in the snow next to the fire. Boom. By then there was about 8 inches of snow. Put him next to the fire, threw a couple more logs on that baby. I said, I hope it holds up all night, because you're going to be one cold son of a gun in the morning. So I closed the tailgate, crawled in there, laid down in the back of the truck, grabbed my sleeping bag, and went to sleep. Next morning I woke up, opened the door, looked around. It was just white. Everything was white, except for where the fire was. And the fire was just about out. But it was white. And it had snowed. I bet it snowed 10 inches that night, 8 or 10 inches. I mean, it snowed a lot. And my brother-in-law, he gets up. He goes, where's Ralph at? I says, well, I don't know. I said, he was right there. All of a sudden, the snow moves. And he comes up out. His head comes up out of there. Oh, and he's going, and he's shaking and stuff. I go, oh, it sucks to be you. What'd you do to me? I didn't do nothing to you. I said, you wouldn't shut up. You wouldn't let me in the friggin' truck. So I kicked your ass out. That's my damn truck. I said, well, it was your truck for a little while. It was mine tonight, last night.
Literally almost killed him.
No, he was all right.
He was totally
tough.
killed him.
He was tough. He had a good down sleeping bag and all that. It's not my fault his head was sticking out of it. He was fine. He was just shaking a little bit.
No, I was talking about the high-speed one in the back of the truck.
Oh. I could do it. Might as well do the whole segment on Ralph. Anyway, we were at Gustine Ducks Unlimited, Gustine, California.
Ralph was there. He had a cowboy hat.
Ralph and I and my brother-in-law, Ronnie, right? So Ralph he's playing the big shot. He's buying tickets and he's drinking and he's drinking and he's buying tickets and he's drinking and he's not winning anything, not winning a thing, but he's drinking and drinking. Pretty soon, he's sloppy drunk again. So we drag him out to the truck, and he had a 72 Chevy 4-wheel drive then. Put the tailgate down, threw him in the back. We went there and hung out a little while longer and talked to our friends and stuff. And my brother-in-law goes, well, we better get home before we start drinking more and get in trouble. I said, okay. Fired up the old beast, took off down Highway 33, and we're thinking, you know what? We both had a little bit. Shouldn't really be out here with Ralph like that in the back. So I turned down the side road, took off, and my brother-in-law is driving Miss Daisy. Me, I'm friggin' AJ Foyt. I want to go. And I looked in front of me, and there was a canal. Perfect ramp. It went, that canal must have elevated about, 3 feet. And he goes, you need to slow down. You need to slow down. You're going to hit that thing. Slow down. I stood on the gas on that thing. He goes, Ralph's in the back. Ralph's in the back. I said, Ralph's in the back. He's all right. Watch. Let's jump this. So I jumped across. It was a bridge, but I jumped from one end to the other in the air. And while we were in the air flying, I looked up in the rearview mirror and I could see Ralph like this. He was like 3 feet in the air. Back of the truck. And I go, and the first thing I thought, oh shit, he's going to fall out. Well, when I landed, he didn't fall out, but his head hit the back window. It stopped him. He stayed in the truck. We took him home, backed his truck up in his driveway. His wife, which is his ex-wife now, comes out. Where's Ralph? I said, he's right here. So he opened the tailgate, checked for a pulse. Oh, he was all right. He's breathing. He's okay. So we carried him in there, put him to bed. He called me up, yelling and screaming at me, asking who he got in a fight with because his neck hurt. Somebody beat the shit out of him. He had two black eyes, busted ribs, all kinds of shit. I go, I don't know. You're riding in the back of the truck. You're doing a pretty good job. You were sticking to it. I don't remember. Oh, you remember now. So, needless to say, it took a long time after that one for Ralph not to be drinking. So he'd have a couple beers and he'd just chill out. Because every time he'd come home or he'd go someplace, he'd come home, he'd be all beat to hell. and he wasn't in a fight. It was just, he was fighting in the bed of the 72 Chevy pickup, his own. But yeah, he's got a lot of stuff. Well, Ralphie's went through a lot of stuff. That's why I tell you, I'm surprised he's still my friend.
I'm surprised he's still your friend. After all the things he even says, I'm surprised I'm still your friend.
Mm-hmm.
After one story after another, and I'm thinking, I would never talk to that guy again if somebody did that to me. Like, when I hear the stories, I'm thinking you've literally tried to kill this guy unintentionally.
Unintentionally, I never. He just.
You can't agree and say unintentionally.
Well, when you get somebody who a lot at you, and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. It's almost like you got it coming in a nice kind of way.
Ralph.
Not meanly, being mean, but yeah, in a nice kind of way. He was and then he got in a divorce, and he was telling me about his girlfriends and stuff, and then in the same breath he goes, "Hey, you got any hot flaggers that work with you?"
Oh.
I go, "No, I don't." He goes, "You got any hot women that work with you?" I says, "I got one that's all right. It's a blonde." "Really? She's single?" "Yeah." "You want her number?" "Yeah." "Okay." I gave her the number. Really nice lady. I feel bad for her. But I know what he was doing. He called her, and he was telling her about all the wonderful things he was going to do to her, right? Till he saw her that's when I was racing stock cars, dirt track stock cars. And, he saw her at the track. She showed up there. And, mind you, Ralph would be the first one there and the last one to go because he'd always have a conversation. Great guy to talk to, sit and talk your ear off and talk about racing and everything. Just awesome guy.
It's always entertaining. It's not one of those people who just talk your ear off and you're like, get out of here.
Yeah. And he's usually if he was the first one there, he's always the last one to leave. That night during the main, okay, we were the first class to run. He had his ramps on. He didn't even have spare tires. If he got a flat tire, he wasn't stopping. Okay, and 2 laps short of ending the race. And I think he was actually in the middle of the pack for a change. That was another competitive thing he had with me. And that didn't fare well for him. Anyway, he drove off the track and went straight to the trailer. Didn't even stop. Drove straight on the trailer. Locked that thing down. Had it on. And I looked. And when I pulled in from Tech, at the end of the race, I was going from Tech. He was trying to pull out the gate. And the girl, she was big as a bus. And she was hanging onto the mirror. Just dragging her out on her feet. And looking at me, shaking his head. He was hot. "I'll never ask you about that again in my life." Well, you shouldn't have asked me that time. You knew it was going to happen.
Rule of thumb, you never ask my dad to do anything that's related to or in correlation to his work. area or people.
No, you don't brag about
Yeah.
to me about how great and how wonderful and beautiful and hot all these young chicks are and all this stuff, and then ask me for a date right after it. No.
Oh yeah, that's a perfect setup.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, let's see how you handle this one. This one will kill you. You know?
Poor Ralph. Still got his cowboy hat on. He's
Yeah. Um,
sleeping with it right now.
but
His handlebar mustache.
a few years ago, there was a deal on the internet, and there was a guy on the internet called the Mad Pontoon Guy. Right? That was Ralph. And he was getting very, very, very popular. Well, Ralph has a wonderful, beautiful, sweet, nice wife.
Yeah, she's super cool.
He is totally awesome. And when he started getting all these little things in there, she put the kibosh to that. No more Mad Pontoon Guy. It was Mad Blue Balls Guy. So, but that's the kind of person he falls into stuff like that.
Oh yeah. No, there's never a dull moment when it comes to the Ralph stories. Like you could make an endless podcast out of that by itself. But so this year, are you racing or not? I saved this one for myself.
Yeah, if I race a bicycle, and some of you older guys will concur with me, I think, that, if you don't get to train or ride and do stuff, you lose it really quick. And, I don't really like to just ride around out there. And I know I have to because I'm out of shape, and it makes me mad because I know there's more there. And so my bike's in the hospital right now. I'm having some stuff done to it.
Yeah,
and I haven't got it back yet. And yeah, I'm not going to race for points, but toward the end of the series, I'll kick one or two off after I get to practice a little bit and ride and stretch out and do my thing. See how it's going to be. Even at 59 years old, it's hard for me to say no because I love to ride my dirt bike. I love hunting. I love fishing. I love to ride my dirt bike. I love to, and I'm proud. And I'm not proud, but I'm very happy that God's given me a halfway tough body that I'm able to ride with my kid. Heck, I got pictures of us on the same starting line.
Yeah, we raced in this. Well, we raced the vet class, and usually when we're running Little Okie and Madera, you're a little short on people showing up for the vet class, so they combine them. And my dad and I have multiple starts on the same line right next to each other, and it's really cool. And even cooler fact is, we come out and we have 3 generations out at the racetrack racing at one time. So it'll be him, myself, and then my son. And I could have never dreamed that would have ever happened. I had to convince him to get back on a dirt bike. He was so glued to racing a dirt track in the car, which is awesome. But I mean, nothing we do is inexpensive, and it's not like we have money for all that stuff. But it was something that myself and my kid were doing, and I could just kind of see it that he wanted to do it, and eventually the right time kind of showed up, and he jumped on, and he got that little spark back. And then it was like, before it was me like, hey Dad, this that about motorcycles, and he was kind of annoyed, and then for a little while there it was kind of him in my ear, and I was like, dang, like he just needs to get out and get this off his shoulders at this point.
Yeah, you were like, is this what I sound like?
Yeah, this is what I sound like.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I did mention earlier, like in the introduction video, that CMA will be out of California. If you're in Central, Northern, or Southern California, if you guys have time to support CMA Little Okie, come up to Madera. Their schedule actually just released recently. Their Instagram does have the schedule, so CMA_ Little Okie. It'll pop up. You guys will see it. But if you guys can make those rounds to support CMA, it's owned by the Pipes family. Dustin Pipes, who runs HEP Motorsports and Pipes Motorsports Group for the, what is that? That World Supercross? WSX, yeah. So
Yeah, and our Supercross that we watch.
yeah, and then HEP Motorsports is, the same thing with like Ken Rocks and those guys. So Dustin Pipes actually runs that, and his father, I believe, is the owner of Little Okie, and we'd really like to show them support because they've always been there since day one. And if you guys can come out, like they do have OTHG, Over the Hill Gang races there for, pretty much we're all older guys and we can run that. They actually do facilitate for OTHG and then their normal spring summer series. So if you guys can make it up, definitely come up. We'd love to see you guys out there. And then we're at 51 minutes already.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else on your mind?
We got 8 more minutes to go.
At least.
Yeah, it's especially if you have kids, grandkids.
Oh yeah.
It's good. It's a good track for say beginner novice riders to advance on. It's not. It has good stuff, but good big big things, I would say, for an 80.
Yeah, and certain sections
65s.
Certain sections you can turn into a bigger rhythm section, like you can turn a double into like a quad or a triple if you wanted to, but it's not anything that one of the little bikes is going to think about doing if they're not skilled enough. And you don't have those big money families coming out, and there's nothing wrong with those families, don't get me wrong, but when you have big money people showing up to race series and stuff, and it's just so saturated with, and this one I am going to throw down is just sandbagging and organizations allowing it to happen. I get it. People want to go to Loretta's and their kids racing at an intermediate level and want to go win the beginner class at Loretta's. That's cool, but it's very demoralizing to beginner kids going in. So come out to CMA because they don't allow that stuff, and you don't get the oversaturated stuff. Nobody cares there. You can go out there and run the pro class if you're a novice. It's not going to hurt anybody's feelings. They may tell you to bump down, but you can get experience racing with faster people, and then the kids can get experience just racing on a racetrack. We take people out there that have ridden a handful of times, and they feel safe enough to actually roll around the track. As a matter of fact, I remember a 4-year-old blonde girl on a pink PW50 that you pushed up the side of a tabletop, and then she proceeded to not want to go down the other side, so she dragged you.
Well, when we got to the top of the tabletop, she finally grew a pair and pinned the throttle with me hanging on the handlebars, running as fast as I can. And
his face.
I didn't want to throw her over the side of the tabletop, so I let go of her, and I had a mouthful of dirt. And
oh, he tripped, face planted.
Yeah.
And the best part is she stops and looks back at him like, "What are you doing?" He gets up, pushes her off the other side. Hearing people cheer him on is the funniest thing.
And women going with their phones, "We got it here, we got it." I said, "Okay, well, send it to me."
Yeah, that video's gold. Him just trying to push this little girl, which is my son's sister, trying to push her off the other end.
The VW pulled both of us up that tabletop.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Yeah, pulled us right up there. Then it went.
That was before I put the limiter on.
It went to WFO, like that. And I went to eating dirt.
Yeah, he went to the human version of a plow. It was great. 10 out of 10.
With shorts on, everything. That was a long night with skinned up knees and kinds of stuff.
Yeah, those ladies came up, said you made their night.
Yeah.
And the funny part is them saying it was the most adorable and hilarious thing they'd ever seen, because Ruby had just she turns her head over and looks at him like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, blonde hair falling out the back of the helmet.
And then he throws her off the other end of it.
Yeah. Go. What are you waiting for? I just ate a bunch of dirt pushing you over here, and you stopped to look at me. Go. I'll roll off the track.
Yep. And the class she was running was the first. So she'd only ridden a few times, and
first timer class.
They have a first timer class out there. Yeah. So the first timer class is you get 5 rounds. You can only run 5 rounds, and in the first timer class, to just get your feet wet, if you have a kid that's 50 age, at the age of for the 50s or the shaft drive class, they'll allow them in there. So if you guys have new kids or kids that are new to racing and you want to see if they want to test the waters there, Little Okie has the perfect little class there for them. Yeah. And those things at Little Okie happen all the time. It's a bunch of weekend warriors and some seasoned racers that show up. Sometimes we have some big name pros or former big name pros show up. Like we've had Adam Enticknap come out there when he was with he still works with HEP, I believe, on the side. And we have Rusty Holland, our rep for Hoosier Tire West, so Hoosier Tires.
Yeah, his son riding 85s.
Oh, his son Rich.
Sponsored by he's riding a YZ85, but
Pro Circuit.
I think Pro Circuit's giving him a lot of help, and 6D and who's his gear company?
Oh, he's got Fast House and stuff.
And stuff, yeah.
But Ryder is like no joke. This kid's got a lot of potential. So, and you have Ryder Ellis, the up and coming guys. Like you get a lot of kids that go out there that are fast because, I mean, it's a fun venue. Their parents are probably around the area and they know of Little Okie and they know it's a fun time. I know we talked about Little Okie for 5-6 minutes, but if you guys are in California, it's definitely worth a stop or a trip to head out there.
Yeah.
And even if you just get to meet Rusty Holland, because, Rusty Holland's pretty cool.
The radical one. In the 90s, they called him the radical one, Rusty Holland.
I remember a quote from JT Thomas. You guys know JT Thomas if you watch Supercross. He got a call to go race arena cross. I believe this is what it was. It might have been a guy he was talking to. He got a call to go race an arena cross race in the pro class. And then somebody said, "Is Rusty Holland going to be there?" And they said, "Yes." He's all, "I'm not going. That guy's mean." He takes me out every time.
Yeah.
He's like the nicest guy. He will stress it. It's funny. He gets a little embarrassed about it, but we love him for it. It's awesome. And yeah, we look forward to this season. So we'll be starting the first race May 3rd. And then I definitely will be keeping track on VetMX and with my VetMX guys that have the big races going around the country and stuff. And hopefully in the near future, we can kind of coordinate and maybe we can start a thing where we meet up at potentially their local race that they feel is a historical or very cool spot to go. And maybe we'll take some road trips. And I know we have the Kansas National in at Bar to Bar in Mays, Kansas. So we all come together for that big race once a year, and it's always worth it, 100%. But we're going to have to start linking up and getting more time together. I know a lot of guys are out there and want to ride more and want to see what the group's all about. And it's hard with money. Money's tight, time's tight. And we can make it happen, though, if we put our, our heads together. It is what it is, but yeah, we can try to do that.
I don't know how he has this set up, but write us some suggestions. Maybe some suggestions on motocross, supercross, and mainly for the vets, but and other things. If you want to talk about hunting, we'll do something separate for that, or fishing or whatever. Write us and give us some ideas. What we don't know, we'll find out, and I'm sure we'll have people here and interview them and get ideas. Like we can have Holland here and some other pros and stuff that we know. Our big advantages that we had is we hung around with Rusty at the Vet Nationals, and
World Vets,
or the World Vets, and talk about a person that's a social butterfly.
Oh yeah,
he knows everybody there. Troy Lee, McGrath, all those guys. Oh, I raced against them, and I know this. It's like, well, I didn't get that memo. Why didn't you tell me you knew all these people? But yeah, send us some suggestions, and if not, we'll come up with some things, and let us know your opinion of it, and we can get something started here.
Yeah, especially for like this being an intro or introduction first episode for my dad's segment. Like, I'm sure you got a little not, it's not even a close to a little taste of everything, but you get a little taste of here and there what he likes to talk about, his experiences and his funny stories and stuff. Let us know if you want to have an episode specifically on Ralph. I would love to hear just Ralph's stories.
Yeah, and I had a
hunting stories, riding stories. He's got
I had a foreman and a best friend that was probably funnier than Ralph, and I spent 25 years working with him, 26 years working with him, and he passed away a couple years ago on New Year's Eve, and the man was hilarious, very smart, very good with construction and stuff like that. And he was a lot like me. His father flew P-47s in World War II over Europe, and he had really good stories too. But I have a lot of stories about him on motorcycles and side by sides and fishing and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that one covers everything.
Yeah, because he was a jack of all trades. A lot of adventure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just you guys can send us some suggestions. If you don't, it doesn't matter. We'll write them out. We'll figure it out. But yeah, so thank you, Dad, for coming on. We're past an hour, so I think that's way more than enough time. And if need be, we might cut it into 2 parts, but we'll see how it plays out. And if you guys want to hear more, let me know. We're going to be working on getting to the Veteran MX Beyond the Battlefield segment coming soon. It's taken a while. As you can see, we're running off the laptop camera there, so yeah, it doesn't look great. But we could have no camera at all. But I do like to have the personable feeling of like seeing who you're watching or communicating with. That makes me feel a little more connected to it. So I wanted to do it with a camera one way or another. And we'll be getting to the Beyond the Battlefield segments. And then my buddy Brendan Cook will be doing the off-road stuff, covering desert racing. I honestly don't know much about the side-by-side world, but they got some gnarly racing that I had just seen, what was it, last weekend? And he was racing his first pro race in 2 years, and it was gnarly. And there's definitely some stuff that's going to come out on that. And it also opens up a lot more doors for potential tie-ins to VetMX, especially for our disabled vets who aren't able to actually sling a leg over a bike anymore. Well, a lot of them are missing legs too, so they'd probably crack a joke about that. So we do have our adaptive guys that we use that we see at the Veteran MX National, where they have worked with guys like Doug Henry and stuff and built chassis for motorcycles to house, a disabled individual who has been paralyzed from the waist down and still facilitate them to be able to ride. And through Brendan being a fabricator and his buddies just being outright talented in the stuff they do, we might be able to make a connection with that to be able to put somebody in a cage that may not be able to be on a motorcycle. And that's definitely something we want to try to coordinate. And I think that'd be pretty cool. So until then, we're going to close this out. Thank you for coming on, Dad. Literally in your house. So,
well, thanks for having me, son.
Yeah, of course. So, if you guys want to hear more, just let us know. We'll get to be on the battlefield, and we'll see you guys next time on Throttle Therapy. Thank you, guys.
Bye.